Assalamu alaikum and welcome to the DS podcast. I am your host, Mikdad Ajwani, and today we are joined with a guest whom, if you have been in madrasa for long enough, will see in year 11, if I'm not mistaken. He is not really a teacher that you have, however, he is a mentor that you get who helps you choose your career. Dear viewers, this is none other than Brother Hassan Dewji. Assalamu alaikum, Maalim.
Thank you so much, Dad, for having me on this
It
podcast.
is our pleasure. How
Thank
are
you.
you?
I'm doing very well. How about yourself?
Alhamdulillah. I wouldn't be doing justice if I introduced you
Yeah,
because of the amount of achievements that you have. So
yeah,
I'm pretty sure most of our viewers would be knowing you, but for those who don't,
yeah.
could you please introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. My name is Hassan Dewji, as Mikdad introduced me, and I predominantly work in the HR field in a family business called METL Group. But I also love to work with young people, especially youth, in the area of career development. So that's a little bit about me. Yeah.
Yes, Malim, we know most of us have actually been to you for career guidance. However, let's start off the podcast with a question for you. We all have inspirations in life. When we're small, we watch football, we look up to Ronaldo, we look
Yeah.
up to Messi. What inspired you to be a career guidance coach? What inspired you to help other people?
Wow, that's a very good question. I never started off wanting to be a career guidance coach. I think a lot of young people approached me for advice. It was very informal, and I felt like I had this natural connection. To be able to kind of guide them or have a positive impact on them. And so I decided to move ahead and maybe certify myself in this area. And I think that's very important because as a coach, just like with any other profession, it's very important for you to have a credential. So I was able to accredit myself with the International Coaching Federation. And yeah, and from there I basically expanded my coaching, I would say, practice. So I don't only coach in the area of career development, but I'm also coaching in the areas of leadership, HR, and family business management. Yeah.
That's wonderful. I really like how you pushed yourself to certify yourself in order to help the community and we benefit from you, in fact.
Yeah.
However, I wanted to ask, did you always have this planned out for yourself? Did you always, like, from a young age, be like, I want to help other people, I want to be a career guidance coach?
um Not really. I actually didn't have that in mind. And I want to link this a little bit with also what I studied. So I actually studied law and politics, and I remember that initially when I started off university, I saw myself wanting to go into that field. But upon graduating, I realized this was not something really that I saw myself doing. And hence, I had a very good mentor in the form of my older brother, who kind of knew what my strengths are and what kind of things I could bring, to the table as far as the family business was concerned. And I think that strength based approach really helped us both, because I was able to then see what value I can bring in. So I think it's very important that to be very versatile. You can start off with something, but you should be open minded and see what opportunities may come your way, and maybe that can take you to something that you may find passion in the future.
I agree. Yeah, Malim, I feel like at this point, elder brothers are literally like your second parents. Like
Yeah,
they know exactly what's your do's and what's your don'ts. However, Malim, nobody really has their careers planned out, right?
yeah, yeah.
Coming to that point, since nobody really has their careers planned out, some of us, after finishing O levels, go into A levels, and we choose a certain stream. However, there's some A level boys who are not really yet sure what they want to do. What would be your advice to them?
So of course, I'd start by saying it's very important to start early,
Yeah.
and I think that's why it's very I think productive of the DS to have had this podcast. But I think I'd say three things are very important. I think the first thing is to network. It's very important to be able to go out there, interact with people, and to kind of exchange ideas. And from there, a lot of learning can come across. So that's
Mm.
number one. Networking is key. I also feel, in addition to networking, it's very important for us to build our skill set.
Yeah.
We were just speaking offline before
Yeah.
about the importance of extracurricular activities. I think more and more universities are now looking at, what else can you bring to the table? It's
Agreed.
not just about your academics. And
Yeah.
so your social skills, your personal development skills, I think those are very key. And those actually come in with when you do these extracurricular activities. And finally, I'd say I think it's very important to do research. I think sometimes we can be very lazy with that,
Yeah.
and we tend to want to rely a lot on other people and what the advice they give you. But of course, if after following these three steps you still feel like you don't know where you're going, then it would be nice for you to go and exchange ideas with a career coach.
Yes, agreed, Malim. Most of us in Gen Z, especially, we're very lazy to research, even though we actually have our phones in our hand 90% of the times.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
us to actually go on Google and really search about what you want to do in the future seems harder than just scrolling through Instagram Reels, but we will work on that.
Inshallah.
However, Malim, is choosing a career a worldly thing? Is it just about getting job satisfaction, job security, or money in that case? Or is my career actually going to affect my hereafter as well?
That's a very good question. I think we all have grown up believing that there is a higher purpose in our life, right?
Agreed.
And that is obviously first and foremost, to serve Allah Subhanahu wa Taala,
Yeah.
right? And then, of course, to be ready for the Imam of our time as well. And so I think when we look at that as the overarching aim that we have in life, I think we need to then go and introspect how our career can help that. So I think it's two things. One is that what habits or character traits am I developing?
Yeah.
Right? And how are those habits and character traits helping me become closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala?
True.
That's one. And number two, as far as the career is concerned, whether you're a doctor, whether you are, an engineer, or whether you're a lawyer, I think we've all grown up believing that when Imam Zamana comes, all these, will be coming in handy. Yeah.
Yes.
So I think use your education, use your career to develop those habits and traits that bring you closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And also think about how your career, all the time think about this, how your career is going to help the Imam of our time. So how can I give back,
Yeah. True.
to the society? So yeah, I think those would be the two things that I'd say.
I agree with you. So, viewers, whenever you're deciding on what you want to be in the future, make sure you're actually thinking of how you're helping the society, number one, and how you're actually helping yourself for the hereafter. Malim, it's just question number five, I think, but this is probably one of the best questions that we have
Okay.
planned out.
Okay.
When we talk about careers, we talk about money, right? And it
Yeah.
wouldn't be fair to not mention the richest man, one of the richest man in the world, Elon Musk.
Yeah.
Elon Musk says you do not need a degree to be successful. Do you agree on that?
I think it's important first to look at what is the purpose of a degree. Okay, and the purpose of a degree is not only knowledge,
Yes.
but it's also to give you certain skills which will help you throughout your life, whether
Yeah.
it is managing your time, whether it is your discipline, whether it is submission of your assignments, your writing skills. So I think first it's important to look at that.
Yeah.
Second thing I think is important to look at is that Elon Musk is an exception,
Yeah.
right?
Agreed.
And we should focus more on following the rule rather than the exception to
Yeah.
the rule, right? That is not to say that you should not have a goal to to have to become an entrepreneur or to be successful. It's important to have that. In fact, as I was reading a book where it says that it's important to have a primary income, as well as always think about a secondary income. So
Yes.
if your plan A doesn't work, then you have plan B, and the plan B can be more oriented towards what is your passion or your hobby. So I'd say that yes, while it's important to have a role model in the form of Elon Musk, there is more credibility and value
Yeah.
to having a degree, because that is probably going to take you further in
Yes,
life,
I
you know.
agree. Degrees are not only for money, right? You get a degree because you really learn a few skills. Like Malim said, you learn how to wake up early in the morning, especially when you're talking about school. You learn how to wake up in the morning, you learn how to fulfill your responsibilities, you learn how to manage your time. These are all skills that will help you then to be successful. Malim, it will be unfair for us to not know your journey into career coaching. Tell
Yeah.
us a little more.
Yeah, so I think my journey, like I said, has been very, very fruitful. I think I've been blessed, alhamdulillah, in the community, to have had the opportunity to meet so many young people. And I've learned from them as much as I would like to think that I've impacted them. That's number one. And number two, I think that, I've seen that they've really challenged themselves.
Yes.
Whereas, 10, 15 years ago, they weren't, as open minded
Yeah.
in terms of what careers to take. So, that's been a very good learning curve to see as far as the community where it's going, and for myself as
Yeah.
well. Yeah.
Honestly, it is a blessing for us to have individuals like you who actually push themselves further just to give back to us. So thank you for that.
Alhamdulillah, alhamdulillah.
Malim, as a student, we face many challenges. What do you think are a few of the most common challenges that people face when
Mm.
choosing a career path?
So I think, maybe I'd say three things are very, very key challenges that still are coming up,
Yeah.
and to some degree some have lessened, but others are still very prevalent.
Yeah.
So one is, I think we all know there is this fear of unknown. Okay, what are we going to do when we graduate,
Yeah.
if the career I want to go into is really going to lead me to the success that I desire?
Yeah.
And so sometimes what that fear of the unknown does, it is really constricts you and restricts you
Yeah.
to kind of take more challenges. And with challenges, with discomfort comes growth.
Yeah.
So I think it's important for us to push, and to kind of take that extra step
Yeah.
when we feel like, okay, I'm at the edge. So that's number
Mm.
one. I think number two, still I feel like young people are seeking shortcuts. They some of them would come in and they want quick results, they want to make quick money. And if you ask anybody, whether it is a doctor or an engineer or even a businessman, they'll always tell you that there is no substitute,
Yeah.
to hard work.
Yes.
And probably number three, I'd say, is something we touched upon earlier, which is to do with this feeling of not really exploring,
Yes.
kind of going with where the tide takes you, or my friends are going here, or this is, what my dad told me to do. And when you don't explore, you tend to then close a lot of doors for yourself. So I think those are the three things I'd say.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
completely agree with you. I actually understand why doctors would say that there is no shortcuts. They study for years and
Yeah.
years and years just to get where they are. But for all you viewers who are actually getting into scams of trading and stuff, I'm sorry, but there is no shortcut like that.
Yeah.
Just make sure you work hard to getting where you want to be and to be what you feel you would be best at being,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
Malim, we as we grow older, we see career paths changing, we
Yeah.
see trends changing. How do you see that the career trends have changed from the past decade, and how do you feel they are going to be in the coming future?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing, obviously, that we now see is this advent of AI and technology.
Yes.
And obviously, it's very hard to predict the future.
Yeah.
But of course, some of the more repetitive jobs, will obviously be substituted
Yeah.
through, AI, or, through, machine learning. But I feel not all,
Yeah.
because there's still going to be jobs that will require humans,
Yes.
because there is interaction involved, there is emotional intelligence involved, there's creativity involved.
Yeah.
And so I think we have to change our perspective about how we think about AI,
Yeah.
and what impact it's going to have for us. For me personally, I think it's an amazing revolution,
Yeah.
but I see it more as a complement
Yes.
to humans, in the form of what I call like a personal assistant.
Yeah.
And as long as we can keep it that way to some degree, I think, there can be great sort of benefit in that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. They really help me with my assignments as well. Malim, we touched on a
Yeah.
few skills that
Yeah.
actually the degree brings:
Yeah.
hard work,
Yeah.
time management. What would you think the viewers, what are the skills the viewers would need to
Yeah.
be successful in today's time?
Um, so I'm gonna say again work ethic, because work ethic is important no matter if you're a student, whether you are in a career. You really need to know that there is
Yeah.
no alternative or substitute for that.
Yes.
I think second thing is passion, for what you do. Of course, you're not gonna get up every morning and you're gonna love what you do.
Yeah.
That's impossible, but
Yes.
at least most of the time you should be able to really want to enjoy the kind of work and tasks that you are undertaking.
Yeah.
uh, and finally is, I think, there's this whole new movement towards work-life balance. I
Yeah.
think that's very important, because I think we shouldn't forget that a human also has other aspects, right? There
Yes.
is not only the work, there is also time for the family and time for oneself,
Yes.
right? And so I think in that success, it's important to factor in those
Yeah.
three aspects as well.
I agree. When normally we're confused about our career, we are usually asked, what is something you would do for free?
Mm.
Right?
Yeah.
When like somebody would ask me, Miktad, what is something that you would do for free? I would say probably teaching, because I
Right.
love teaching.
Right.
So always have passion for what you want to be, right?
Yeah.
Always don't choose a certain job because you'll make too much money from it. Is it really worth making too much money if you don't like it?
Yeah.
Is it really worth making too much money if you wake up every day and feel like not going to work?
Yeah.
It's not really worth it, right?
Yeah. That's great advice. It's
Yeah.
great advice too.
Now I'm the one who's giving advice. How ironic. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Malim, we have focused all this on students so far.
Yeah.
Let's move a notch higher,
Right.
right? For people who are now working and they're facing burnouts or they're feeling stuck in their current job, they really don't want to do this. They wake up in the morning, they're like, I don't want to go to this job. I
Yeah.
chose it, I know, now I'm stuck in this position. Every
Yeah.
day I go to work, I work from 9 o'clock to 6 o'clock to 7 o'clock, I feel tired.
Yeah.
What advice should we give them? What advice could you give them?
So firstly, burnout is a real issue, and I think it's something that we shouldn't underestimate.
Yes.
And it happens to all of us, whether you're a student or whether you are even working. But I always believe that number one, we shouldn't take any knee jerk reaction
Yeah.
and just make a decision at the spot. And let's say, for example, leave the job,
Yeah.
because sometimes what happens is that we have families also to feed,
Yeah.
and if we don't have an alternative, I think it's important for us to to stick on until we have something
Yeah.
in mind. Okay. Second thing I think is that, like I mentioned earlier, that the whole concept of having this primary and secondary income. If
Yeah.
you start early, you have this primary income, but you also are doing something on the side that's giving you passion, happiness, and joy. If for any reason, not only because of burnout, you're not able to, succeed with the first option, you
Yeah.
also have the second one,
Agree.
available to you. So that's something I'd say. And perhaps, the third thing I would say is related to, looking forward to what are your other talents.
Yeah.
So sometimes, we've been working for so many years, we forget that there are certain skills that we begin to acquire.
Yeah.
How can we use those to be able to then perhaps go into perhaps another career,
Yeah.
or perhaps use that to start an entrepreneurship journey?
Yes.
So I think those would be my three tips for those facing burnout.
I completely agree with you. Don't forget to search for new talents. You
Yeah.
have so much in you, you have so much potential. Don't just give up because you found something, and don't just stick to it, right?
Yeah.
Just because it gives you money, I agree, but you also need to have a backup option for yourself,
Yeah.
and make sure to not make sure to not lose yourself, right?
Yeah.
When you're doing a job, you feel burnt out, make sure you take some time off. Malim, what do you think about vacations? Do you think they're necessary when you're working?
Yeah, I think so. I think, vacation means different things to different people. For some people, it could be just literally relaxing, at home.
Yeah.
For other people, it could be actually going out and to the beach.
Yeah.
So whatever it is, I think the important thing is to take time out for yourself
Yeah.
and for your loved ones, to obviously recharge,
Yes,
you
I
know?
agree. When you're feeling burnt out, don't forget to give yourself a break. Make
Yeah.
sure to find yourself, to explore new talents. However, dear viewers, that comes to the end of our podcast. Thank you so much, Malim, for
Thank
coming.
you. My pleasure.
It is our pleasure to have you. It is a huge pleasure for the viewers to have you.
Thank you.
However, if you still want more advice from Maalim Hassan, where can we find you?
Yeah, I'm always available. You have my number. And of course, if there's anyone who's looking for me, they can also go to the madrasa, and they'll be able to get my contact there. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. We'll also try to keep the contact and the Instagram maybe on the
Yes, yeah.
YouTube.
So you can, I have my own coaching page called Elevate with Hassan,
Okay.
so they can follow that as well. Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. We'll put that down for you all. We hope you enjoyed the program. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Walaikum salam. Thank you.